The space station was quiet, but Daniel felt Relia's eyes on him. She studied every move he made, as if searching for a secret hidden inside him. Finally, she leaned closer, her voice soft but sharp with disbelief. "Humans have milk as well," she whispered. Daniel froze. Of all the questions he expected, this was not one of them. Why would an alien care about something so strange? But the way Aurelia looked at him, her wide eyes, her trembling hands, told him this was no joke. If what she believed was true, then everything her people had told her about humans was a lie. And lies, Daniel knew, were dangerous in this part of the galaxy. Daniel sat quietly inside the station's dining hall, enjoying a simple meal. Around him, dozens of different species moved from table to table, speaking in their strange voices and sharing food from their own worlds. To most of them, a human was nothing special, just another visitor from a far planet. But Aurelia was not. Like the others, she watched him closely, her eyes never leaving his hands, his face, the way he chewed his food. At first, Daniel thought she was simply curious. Many aliens looked at humans with interest, sometimes even amusement. But there was something different in her gaze. It was sharper, more intense, as if she was waiting for him to do something unusual. Finally, when the silence between them grew heavy, Aurelia leaned closer. Her voice was soft, almost like she was afraid to be overheard. "Humans have milk as well?" she asked. Daniel nearly dropped the cup in his hand. He blinked at her, certain he had heard wrong. "Excuse me," he said carefully. Her silver eyes widened, and she repeated the question with more disbelief. "Your kind, you also have milk. Tell me it is true." Daniel had no idea what she meant or why she would ask something like that. To him, the word was ordinary, nothing strange. But from the way she said it, from the tremble in her voice, he understood that for her people, this was no small thing. "Why would you even ask me that?" he said after a moment. Aurelia looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together as though she was holding back something important. "Because if it is true," she whispered, "then everything I was taught about humans is wrong." Daniel leaned back, confused and a little uneasy. He could see the emotion in her face, the seriousness in her tone. She was not making fun of him. She truly meant every word. "You think humans having milk changes something?" he asked. Her gaze lifted again, and there was a strange light in her eyes. "It changes everything," she said. For a long moment, Daniel said nothing. He felt the weight of her words pressing on him, even though he did not yet understand. Around them, the noise of the dining hall continued. Laughter, footsteps, the clink of dishes, but between the two of them, there was only silence and a growing tension. Aurelia finally broke it. "My people believe we are the only ones who carry the gift," she said slowly, "the only ones who give life through milk. To us, it is sacred. It is our strength, our proof that we are chosen." She paused, watching his reaction carefully. "If humans have it too, then we are not alone in this gift, and that truth would break everything my people stand upon." Daniel frowned, trying to follow her words. It sounded unbelievable to him that something so simple could carry so much weight. "But why would it matter?" he asked. Her expression hardened, and she leaned closer again. "Because if humans are like us, then my leaders have lied to us for generations. They told us humans are weak, less than us, without the power of life. But if they are wrong, then they will do anything to keep the truth hidden." Daniel felt a chill run through him. He had not asked for this conversation, yet now he was caught in something bigger than he could see. He looked into Relia's eyes and saw both fear and hope there, battling each other. "Listen," he said carefully, "I don't really understand your people's beliefs. I'm just a traveler here. But I can tell you this: humans are not so different from anyone else. We survive, we raise our young, we find ways to keep going. Maybe that's all that matters." But Aurelia shook her head. "No, you do not understand yet. If what you say is true, then your kind may be in danger. And so am I, because I asked the question aloud." Her words made his stomach tighten. He glanced around the hall, suddenly aware that a few others had noticed their quiet conversation. A pair of tall figures at a nearby table seemed to be watching them more than before. Daniel lowered his voice. "Are you saying someone would care about this? About something like milk?" Her answer came quickly, almost too quickly. "Yes, more than you can imagine." He wanted to ask more, to press her for answers, but she stood up before he could. She placed a hand lightly on the table, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Do not speak of this again here. There are ears everywhere. Meet me later when the halls are quiet." Before Daniel could respond, she turned and walked away, her steps calm but her shoulders tense. He sat there, staring at the spot where she had been, his mind spinning with questions he did not know how to ask. Round him, the station life continued as if nothing unusual had happened. But inside, he felt that something had shifted. The simple meal he had started now tasted empty. The question Aurelia had asked echoed in his mind over and over. Again, humans have milk as well. It sounded foolish at first, even laughable. But the fear in her eyes was real. And Daniel knew one thing for certain. When an alien was that afraid of a simple truth, it could only mean danger was closer than he realized. Daniel could not rest that night. Even though the station lights dimmed and most of the travelers returned to their rooms, his mind kept circling back to Aurelia's strange question. He tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, those silver eyes full of disbelief and fear. The way she whispered, the way her voice trembled, it felt like she had placed a heavy weight on his shoulders without explaining why. When the halls grew quieter, Daniel finally decided to meet her. The station's air was cooler at night, and the silence made every step echo louder than he wished. Aurelia was waiting near the viewing deck, where wide glass panels looked out into the endless stars. She stood with her hands clasped in front of her posture calm, but he could see tension in her eyes when she turned to face him. "You came," she said softly. "You told me to," Daniel replied. He moved closer, lowering his voice. "Now you're going to tell me what this is really about. Why did you ask me that question?" She hesitated for a long time, as if struggling with herself. Then she finally spoke. "In my culture, milk is not only food, it is life, it is memory, it is power. Our leaders tell us we are the only ones in the galaxy who hold this gift. They say it makes us chosen, different, higher than all others." Daniel listened carefully, trying to piece together her meaning. He had never thought of milk as anything beyond what mothers gave to their children, but to her people it sounded almost holy. Aurelia continued, her voice heavy with emotion. "From the day we are born, we are told humans are lesser, that your kind does not share what we have, that you live, yes, but without the sacred gift. And so we were taught not to respect you." She paused, her hands tightening together. "But when I saw you, when I studied your kind more closely, I began to doubt." Daniel tilted his head, curiosity pushing through his confusion. "And that's why you asked me, because you wanted proof." Her gaze dropped. "Yes, proof that the stories are lies. And now that I asked, I cannot take it back. Others will wonder. They will hear whispers. If it becomes known that humans share the gift, it will shake the foundation of everything my people believe." The words sank deep into Daniel's mind. It was still hard for him to understand why such a thing mattered so much. But the way she spoke, so serious, so heavy, made him realize this was not just a small discovery. It was a truth that could divide entire worlds. "Why would your leaders care?" he asked gently. "Why not accept that humans are like you?" Aurelia's eyes lifted again, sadness deep in them. "Because power is built on difference. As long as we believe we are above you, we follow them, we obey them. But if humans are the same, then their rule is weaker. Many would lose faith. Some would rebel. And the leaders will never allow that to happen." The air around them felt colder. Daniel turned to the wide glass and looked out at the stars. He felt so small against that endless black, and yet somehow, one simple truth about humans could change the balance of so many lives. He turned back to her. "Then why tell me? Why not stay quiet and protect yourself?" For the first time, a small smile touched her lips, though it was filled with sadness. "Because I needed to see if it was real. I needed to know if everything I was taught was false. And because I trust you more than the others." Daniel's chest tightened. He had not expected her to say that. Before he could reply, Aurelia stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. But you must understand, if this truth spreads, you will not be safe. Already, I feel eyes watching. Some will want to use you. Others will want to silence you. And once they know, it will not matter whether you believe it is important or not. They will decide for you. Daniel felt a shiver move down his spine. He remembered the tall figures watching them earlier in the dining hall. Maybe it was only his imagination, but now he was not so sure. What do we do then? He asked. Aurelia looked back at the stars, her expression unreadable. For now, you do nothing. Pretend you never heard me. Live as you always do. Let me carry the weight of this knowledge a little longer. When the time is right, I will tell you more. Daniel wanted to argue, to press her for answers, but he could see in her eyes that she had already taken a risk by saying this much. He gave a slow nod, though unease still burned inside him. As they stood together in the quiet viewing deck, the galaxy stretched before them like an endless sea of secrets. Daniel realized he had stepped into something far greater than himself. Aurelia's question was not only strange, it was dangerous. And now, whether he wanted to or not, he was part of it. He looked once more at her silver eyes, filled with both fear and determination, and he knew that whatever came next, his life would never return to what it was before. Daniel tried to carry on with his days inside the station, as if nothing had changed. But it was impossible. Everywhere he went, he felt the weight of Aurelia's words pressing down on him. The question she had asked seemed small on the surface, yet now it echoed in every corner of his thoughts. He noticed things he had ignored before, glances that lingered too long, conversations that fell quiet when he entered a room. The way some figures shifted slightly as if making space for him, but not with respect. Rather with WATCHFULNESS. The station itself was alive with motion. Traders moved along the shining corridors, merchants called out in different tongues, and travelers carried goods from one world to another. But for Daniel, the normal hum of life had gained a hidden edge. He could no longer shake the feeling that behind the laughter and bargaining, eyes were following him. Aurelia tried to act as though everything was normal, but he could see the change in her too. When she walked beside him, her shoulders were tense. She spoke less, and when she did, her words were careful, as if weighed before leaving her lips. One evening, as they walked through the hall lined with glowing panels, Daniel asked quietly, "Do you feel it too? The way people look at us?" Her eyes flickered toward the crowd before she answered, "Yes." Curiosity spreads quickly here, even when words are not spoken. Rumors have wings. Daniel sighed, lowering his voice even more. "And the rumor is about me, isn't it?" Aurelia nodded slowly. "Some suspect, others only guess. But the more you are watched, the more questions will rise. Questions you cannot answer without danger." He wanted to laugh it off, but the seriousness in her expression held him silent. They passed a group of tall beings with long necks and glowing marks on their arms. Their conversation ceased as Daniel walked by, and though they smiled politely, their eyes lingered too long. Daniel felt a chill crawl across his skin. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in the common lounge with a warm drink in hand, trying to focus on the stars beyond the transparent walls. The blackness of space dotted with endless lights usually calmed him, but tonight it offered no comfort. He sensed movement at the edge of the room and turned his head just in time to see two cloaked figures slip quietly out the door. They had been there longer than he realized, sitting in silence and watching him. He set down his drink and rubbed his temples. Maybe it was all in his mind. Maybe he was only imagining their interest because of what Aurelia had said. But deep down, he knew that was not true. Something had shifted the moment she spoke her question aloud. The next day, Aurelia pulled him aside after the marketplace had quieted. "You must be careful where you go," she warned. "Already, the council will hear whispers. If they summon you, you must not answer without me at your side." Daniel frowned. "Why would a council care about me? I'm just another visitor." Her expression darkened. "Not anymore. You are a question they cannot ignore. If humans share our gift, then the council's power weakens. Some will want to hide it. Some will want to use it. None will let it remain simple." Daniel felt the truth in her words, even if he didn't want to admit it. "So what do I do?" Avoid them forever. For now, she said quietly, you walk carefully. You listen more than you speak, and you wait. They continued through the station, but Daniel could not escape the feeling of unseen footsteps behind him. Every shadow felt heavier, every smile a little too sharp. Even among the noise of merchants and the clatter of travelers, silence seemed to follow him like a shadow. One evening, as Daniel prepared to leave the dining hall, he noticed something unusual. A group of officials in long robes stood near the entry, their attention fixed not on the crowd, but on him. When he looked at them directly, they quickly turned away, pretending to study a display panel. But when he walked past, he felt their eyes pressing against his back. When he met Aurelia later, his voice was tight. They're watching me more openly now. She lowered her gaze, her hands curling together. That it is sooner than I feared. The council must already be testing the rumor. Once they decide to act, they will not ask politely. Daniel's breath caught at her words. But before he could speak, Aurelia placed a hand gently on his arm. Her voice softened, though the worry in her eyes was clear. Stay close to me, Daniel. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, trust that I will not let you face this alone. Her words brought him a fragile comfort, but it did not erase the unease. As he looked out once again at the stars beyond the station's walls, he could not shake the thought that a simple truth, hidden in human nature, had drawn him into a web far larger than himself. And though Aurelia stood beside him, he wondered if even she knew how deep that web would reach. Daniel woke the next morning with a heavy feeling in his chest. The small room the station had given him felt too quiet, too still, as if the air itself carried warning. He dressed and stepped into the bright corridor, but even there the silence seemed to follow. People moved past him, their faces calm, but every so often he caught a glance that stayed on him too long, or a conversation that fell away the moment. He came near by midday. A message appeared on the panel outside his room. It was written in the station's common script, report to the council chamber. The words were polite, almost formal, but Daniel felt no comfort in them. He stood staring at the message until Aurelia appeared at his side. They called you, she whispered. He nodded slowly. You said this might happen. Her silver eyes were clouded with worry. Yes, and it came sooner than I hoped. You must remember, whatever they ask, whatever they say, do not let fear guide your answer. Speak carefully, and trust me to help when I can. Daniel wanted to ask what exactly they would do, but she was already leading him down the wide hall toward the chamber. The doors were tall, carved with symbols of authority, and they opened with a slow, deep sound that made his skin prickle. Inside, the room was arranged in a circle. At the center stood a small platform, and around it, raised seats where the council members sat watching. Their faces were different, some scaled, some smooth, some with eyes glowing faintly, but all of them carried the same expression, curiosity mixed with control. As Daniel stepped onto the platform, the room fell into a silence so complete he could hear his own breathing. One of the council members, tall and robed in deep blue, leaned forward. Human traveler, the voice rang clear. We have heard whispers. We wish to confirm a truth. Daniel swallowed, his mouth dry. What truth? The counselor's gaze was steady. That your kind shares the sacred gift, that you too carry within you the life-giving essence we believed was ours alone. Daniel froze. He remembered Aurelia's warning, her whisper that this was not a small matter but a dangerous one. He looked toward her, standing just inside the chamber doors. Her face was calm, but her eyes told him to be careful. I don't understand why this is important, Daniel said, keeping his voice steady. Where I come from, it is natural, nothing special. A ripple of murmurs moved through the council. Some leaned closer, others narrowed their eyes. The blue-robed figure raised a hand for silence. If what you say is true, it is not nothing. It is a challenge to everything we have taught our people. We require proof. Daniel's heart beat faster. Proof. The word made his hands tighten at his sides. He wanted to refuse, but he could see from their faces that refusal would not be accepted. He looked at Aurelia again. She gave the smallest nod, a signal for calm. An attendant stepped forward with a small device, shaped like a curved band of metal with glowing edges. It will read your biology, the attendant explained. simple, painless, it cannot lie. Daniel hesitated, but the circle of eyes watching left him little choice. He extended his arm. The band closed gently round his wrist, sending a soft hum through his skin. A light blinked once, then twice, then turned green. The attendant studied the result, then turned to the council. "It is confirmed," the voice said. "The human carries the same function as we do." The chamber erupted in quiet gasps. Some council members leaned back in shock, others exchanged sharp looks. The blue-robed figure raised a hand again. Silence. Then, turning to Daniel, the counselor said, "Do you realize what this means?" Daniel shook his head. "To me, it is only life as we know it. Nothing more." The counselor's eyes narrowed. "To you, perhaps, but to us it is the breaking of a foundation. If your kind shares our gift, then we are not unique. We are not chosen. The order of things will tremble." Aurelia stepped forward then, her voice clear though soft. "Perhaps it is not a threat, but a chance. Perhaps it shows we are not so different from those we call lesser." Her words stirred another ripple through the chamber. Some members frowned. Others looked thoughtful. Daniel realized she was taking a risk by speaking at all. The counselor's voice grew sharper. "Careful, Aurelia. You speak against what has guided us for centuries." She bowed her head slightly but did not lower her eyes. "I speak only the truth. It is before you now, and no denial will change it." Daniel stood silent, his heart racing. He felt caught in a storm he did not create, yet one that now surrounded him completely. He wanted to walk out, to leave this station behind, but he knew it was too late. The blue-robed figure finally spoke again. "Human traveler, you may return to your quarters, but know this: your presence is no longer small. You will be watched, you will be weighed, and your truth will not remain hidden." The meeting ended, and Daniel followed Aurelia back through the long corridors. Neither spoke for a while, the echoes of the council chamber still heavy in their minds. At last, Aurelia whispered, "Now it begins. You have been seen, and they cannot unsee. Whatever comes next, you must be ready." Daniel nodded slowly, though. His thoughts swirled like the endless stars beyond the glass walls. He knew his life had just crossed a line, one that could never be undone. The silence between them felt heavier than words. He sat across from her, unsure how to respond, while she kept studying him like a mystery she could not solve. The earlier conversation about humans and milk still lingered in the air, but now it had become something more. She was not only curious, she was unsettled. Her hands, usually steady, fidgeted with the silver band on her wrist. "You humans, you keep so much hidden," she said softly, almost to herself. He leaned back, trying to appear calm, though his mind raced. "What do you mean?" Her golden eyes lifted to meet his, and for the first time, he saw something fragile there, something that looked like fear. "Every species I know carries its history on its skin, in its voice, in its patterns. But humans," she hesitated, searching for the right words. "Humans carry secrets inside their own bodies. It is not just milk. It is life, something that does not belong only to you." Her words sent a chill through him. He wanted to ask what she meant, but before he could, a distant hum shook the ground beneath them. The walls vibrated, a low tremor passing through the floor. She froze, her gaze darting toward the sealed door. "They are close," she whispered. "We don't have much time." He stood quickly, heart pounding. "Who's close? What are you talking about?" She took a step toward him, her voice sharper now. "The ones who hunt me, they know what I have told you, and they will not stop until they silence both of us." The room suddenly felt smaller, as though the air had thickened. He glanced at the door, half expecting it to burst open. Yet at the same time, he could not ignore the way she looked at him, like she was depending on him, trusting him with something bigger than himself. "I still don't understand," he said, forcing his voice to stay steady. "Why me? Why tell me?" Her answer came without hesitation. "Because you are human, and humans are the only ones who can protect what I carry." His chest tightened. The way she said it was heavy with meaning, but he still could not grasp it fully. "What do you carry?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She moved closer, so close he could see the faint glow of her skin. the strange patterns running under her surface like threads of light. Something your people do not yet know about themselves, something that can change everything. The hum outside grew louder, vibrating the metal panels around them. Lights flickered. He realized then that whatever she was hiding, it was the reason she was being hunted. And now, because she had chosen him, he was part of it. "You should have left me," he muttered, fear mixing with frustration. But she shook her head. "No, I chose you for a reason. You don't see it yet, but you will. Trust me." Before he could reply, a sharp sound echoed through the walls, a metallic crack, followed by silence. Both of them froze. The hunters were here. His pulse quickened. He had no plan, no idea what to do, yet something deep inside told him to stand his ground. She watched him closely, her expression unreadable, as though she was waiting to see what choice he would make. In that tense moment, he realized something unexpected. The secret she carried was not just about her, it was about him too. And now, everything depended on what happened next. The days passed slowly after that moment, but for both of them, everything felt different now. She no longer looked at the human with the same curious distance she once had. Instead, there was a quiet closeness in her gaze, something warm and alive. Every small thing he did, whether pouring water into a glass or simply walking beside her, seemed to carry meaning to her. And for him, her presence had become like a constant light, guiding and reminding him of how strange and beautiful life could be. One night, while they sat under the silver glow of the stars, she asked a question that caught him off guard. Her voice was soft, almost uncertain. "Do humans always share something so personal with someone they trust?" He turned to her, noticing the way her hands trembled slightly as she touched the fabric of her sleeve. He could hear her unspoken thoughts hiding behind her words. She wasn't asking only about the milk or about what she had discovered earlier. She was asking if the bond between them was something rare, something only meant for him and her. He gave her a calm smile and said, "Not always, but sometimes we share more than we think possible if we trust deeply enough." His answer made her look away quickly, as if she needed to hide the emotions stirring in her. The stars reflected in her eyes, and for a long moment, she remained silent. Then, without warning, she leaned closer, her voice almost like a whisper, carried by the night wind. "Then maybe I was right to come to you. Maybe it was never an accident." Those words lingered in his heart long after she spoke them. He thought about what it meant, how she had chosen him, out of all beings, to open up to. The weight of her trust pressed gently on him, not like a burden, but like a gift he didn't want to break. The following day, her people sent a message, calling her back. It was sudden and sharp, like a thread about to be cut. She read the message quietly, her face unreadable, and when she finally turned to him, her eyes held a sadness he had never seen before. "They want me to return. They say I've been here too long." He felt a twist in his chest. He had known this day would come, but now that it was here, he wasn't ready. "Will you go?" he asked softly. She did not answer right away. Instead, she looked at him with a mix of fear and longing, as though torn between two worlds. When she finally spoke, her voice shook slightly. "I don't know. Part of me wants to go back, but another part." She stopped herself, unable to finish the sentence. Yet he already understood. The hours before her departure were filled with unspoken emotions. They walked together through quiet paths, neither saying much, both feeling the weight of the moment. At the edge of the landing field, where her ship waited like a silent shadow, she finally turned to him. "If I leave, will you forget me?" she asked, her eyes searching his face desperately. He shook his head, his voice steady. "No, some things cannot be forgotten," she breathed out slowly, as though those words gave her the courage she needed. And then, with a sudden, unexpected movement, she reached for his hand. Her fingers were cool against his, trembling slightly. "Then promise me one thing," she whispered. "Promise me that no matter what happens, this," she lifted their joined hands, "will not end here." He held her hand firmly, looking straight into her eyes. "I promise," and in that promise, something unspoken was sealed between them. Something that reached beyond the strangeness of milk, beyond questions and disbelief, beyond the borders of two different worlds. It was something timeless, something that could not be broken even if distance pulled them apart. As the engines of her ship began to hum in the distance, the night seemed to grow heavier around them. But instead of fear, there was only a strange calm, because both of them knew that whatever came next, their story was not ending, it was only beginning.